Hey, what is going on, bulls and bears? Back with another dose of economic reality. And yes, things are getting worse. Let's talk about the CPI number. We're going to talk about the real estate numbers, housing, debt, and a lot more. Let's go ahead and get started right here. The Consumer Price Index up 8.5% in March compared to the prior year. Year over year number, worse than expected, or what they're calling hotter than expected. But it's nice how they substitute the word use or the word hotter for the word use to make it sound less bad. But I don't think anyone here watching this channel right now is surprised it was not hotter than expected for any of you, because we knew that things are just going to continue to escalate and get worse. Yes, you might see a pullback in prices here and there, a pullback in gas, a pullback in oil, but the long-term trend is going to be higher and higher. So we need to continue to brace for more inflation. Now, of course, this is the official number, aka phony number. We know the real numbers between closer to 15 and 18%, and even higher in certain categories. Look at automobiles, look at rents up 17% year over year, look at home prices, look at fuel, energy. And actually, I've been talking to more and more people that have been really getting hurt by their insurance premiums. And in my line of work, I talk to people about finances, and one of the things that comes up in the household budget is insurance. It's something that most people have to pay, either home, auto, or both. And I have customers telling me 20%, 25%, 30% increases. Now, it is true that the insurance companies are having to pay higher costs for rebuilding. Just everyday operating expenses are higher with the cost of energy. Companies are feeling the pinch. But you know they're going to use that as an excuse to raise the rates even higher. Bottom line is, a lot of household budgets are getting really nailed right now with all these rising costs everywhere you look. Now, I went over to Shadow Stats. Now, that gives you the more real life number that was used a couple decades ago, which includes a larger basket of goods and expenses that most people have to pay. And that's up over 17%. It looks like it's between 17 and 18%. But when you look at the causes and the solutions that are being put out there, there are no solutions. It's just adding fuel to the fire. What they're calling the solutions, the bankers, is just adding fuel to the fire. It's making things worse. We see what's happening right now over in China with the new lockdowns, an entire city of Shanghai being put under some very strict lockdowns. And we still get a lot of our goods from China. And that's likely to get worse when you combine the lockdowns, you combine the higher corporate taxes now. More companies are going to be offshoring to get out of America because it's going to be more expensive here to open up shop and manufacture items here. So expect things to get worse. If there was better news and things were going to get better, I would be the first to let you know. But expect higher inflation numbers, and probably next month they'll say, oh, it's hotter than expected. Oh, nobody saw this coming. Nobody expected it. The war. No one thought the war would break out. Now prices are going up. Prices were going up way before the war. Prices were rising beyond household income way before the health crisis a couple years ago. This has been an ongoing trend. Now, could things change? Absolutely. And when they change, I'll be the first to let you know. The housing market. Let's talk about that next. Home prices. Now, the S&P numbers are out. For January, year over year up 19.2%. So again, there goes the 8.5% inflation that we're being told. No one here on this channel, I'm sure, is surprised, because all the fundamentals are still there. Now, you're starting to see a bit of a slowdown in refinances and in home purchases. Now, we may not see the price effects of that for a few more months. The Fed is slowing down their purchases, and we're going to see if they're going to unwind their balance sheet. But the big story in the mortgage industry is mortgage rates, and we see them up over 5%. They dipped down a little bit, but up over 5% here just recently. But that's not the biggest part of the picture. We also have very heavy institutional buying. But we are starting to see a bit of a sea change in mortgage rates. Now, they could turn back around and drop these rates back down very easily. by buying these securities, by buying bonds. But let's take a look at what's happening, some news out of the mortgage industry. And now we're seeing movement mortgage out there laying off about 150 or more people. And we're going to see more of this as mortgage rates rise, refinances slump down, and more layoffs and more people looking for work. So a lot of these places that are having trouble finding workers, well, it looks like there's going to be a lot of people moving over from the mortgage industry to who knows where, maybe fast food. So there's the latest incident there in the mortgage industry. Movement Mortgage said, get your box and move on out. What else is up? Well, airfares continue to rise, but travelers don't care. And we see this in the levels of debt and credit card debt that people are taking on. The average trip now, round trip flight, is $330. And that number is up about 40% now year over year. So people are paying more wherever you go, wherever type of travel. Of course, car trips, rental cars, the cost of fuel, airfares, everything going up except for most people's wages, unfortunately. And I was talking to my neighbor just yesterday. We're talking about the rising costs and everything, and he watches the channel. He said he got a 1% raise, and he is a contractor for the Department of Defense. So a DoD contractor, a 1% raise. And the same guy, the same neighbor was out in his backyard putting plants in and talking to me about, well, we're going to try to grow this, try to grow that. So people are looking to try to cut back wherever they can. If you can grow food, if you can cut back here and there. People are going to have to cut back on travel at some point. Otherwise, how are people going to get by? Please let me know down below. I still think the second half 2022, we're really going to see a lot of this come to fruition with the bankruptcies ticking up. Anything could happen. Who would have guessed that 2 years later, beyond the health crisis, that we'd still see rent moratoriums in so many cities, including here in San Diego and Los Angeles and lots of other big cities. No one knows the level of intervention that we're going to see, what type of other assistance programs. Maybe they'll have to cancel foreclosures again once mortgage rates continue to rise, and people will be having a more difficult time using their homes as ATMs and refinancing to pay off all this other debt that they're taking onto their credit card balances. And maybe at some point we'll be a nation of broke millionaires. What does that mean? That means you have millions of dollars in some cases, but everything else costs so much more, you're still basically broke. And that's what happened in Venezuela. Countries like Venezuela, Zimbabwe, they have a record amount of millionaires in those countries, but that's only because their currency has been completely devalued. And even though they're millionaires on paper, when it costs thousands of dollars for just a few meals, even millions of dollars, doesn't get you very far. So hopefully it won't be that bad. The dollar has been very resilient through these times. It's still the dominant currency. It's a currency where you can go to any country pretty much and use it anywhere in the world. But that is dwindling, and we see what's happening now in other countries and how these sanctions have caused Russia, for example, to go outside the dollar. And that's just going to be another dagger in the dollar's heart. Now, is that going to mean the dollar is going away tomorrow, next week? No, it's still going to be a while, but we can see where this is headed, and it's good that it's not very rapid. It's good that it's not a collapse. Some people would like to see a collapse. They would rather see a price collapse than this inflation and dollar devaluation continuing, but it does give us enough time to prepare. So keep stacking, keep preparing, because things are just going to get worse. We're going to keep an eye on it here for you. Thanks for being here, for supporting this channel. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you very, very soon. Signing out. Bye for now.